me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
All right, Street Soldiers, this is Lady Estelle and the Street Soldier crew, and we're back
A lot of
for
feedback.
another Sunday evening with you. Your host this evening, like Mike said, is glad to see that we are still here. We are still healthy. Oh, sort of. We are still alive and free. Your host, Dr. Joseph E. Marshall Jr.
Good evening, Street Soldiers. Alive and Free Radio back on the air. Thank you for tuning in. Everything's all good. Everything is all good. I'm just feeling good, really. I'm basking in the glow of the Democratic National. I am.
You're biased.
Kamala. Yes, I am. Kamala. And saying all that, we're not going to talk about that tonight. I got something else for you. But I just wanted, that's how I'm feeling. I'm just, look, my whole spirit, you know, what a wonderful 4 days, topped off by the first woman to be nominated of color, to be nominated for the presidency. Unbelievable. And you know what makes it more unbelievable is that we know her. Okay,
Yeah.
I know her. We know her.
You know her?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know. I didn't know you was tapped in like that.
I am tapped in like that.
Okay.
You know it too.
Yes, I do.
Cool.
Oh, anyway, so now, yeah, having said that, we're gonna hold off on that. I promise you, when we come back after the break, got a break next week. After we come back, we're gonna just that night go into all things political. We'll probably have a couple of shows a month as we move into closer to voting day in November. But so yeah, but I had to just get that out because I'm just feeling so wonderful. Thank you for listening. Tonight we're gonna talk about all things COVID. So I'm telling you early, all things COVID. We're gonna give you updates. We're gonna give you everything. People, it's been like honestly,
Wow.
everybody know been getting it, and they got new vaccines,
Wow.
and so we need an update. And we got the gentleman. You notice I said gentleman. I use that call the man. But we have the gentleman here who's going to give us that, Dr. Andre Campbell. He is going to give us all the latest info on COVID, all the questions that you have. So I'm going to give you the number early, 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. We want to take as many calls as we can during that first hour. Don't call yet. But I'm going to give you the number. Write the number down, 877-955-1061. When I tell you to call and get all your questions answered about all things about COVID-19 related from Dr. Andre Campbell. All right. With that, I got to say hello to everyone. What's up, Lady E? Glad to see you back. And I know you're going to have a bunch of questions about all things COVID because yeah, I ain't going to tell you. You can tell me if you want. No, you don't want to tell nobody? Okay.
Well, I mean, I was, if you're still, I was waiting for you to finish with what you were saying. Yeah, because I am fresh out of COVID.
Okay. All right. So we got questions.
I just got a negative test. It's been
So she got questions, and Ann got questions because Ann had it, and the soul got questions because he had it. So he had it too, and my grandson had it. And hey, by the way, what's up, soul? How you doing, man?
What's up, family?
Looking good.
Yes, Lady E, we in that 90-day immunity crew right now, okay?
okay.
And we all right there. We got 90 days, okay?
So what does that mean? That's
It means we earned them 90 days. We earned it.
Hold on. We'll find out.
Oh, that's
All right.
Yeah, talk to me. What is a 90-day?
We're prepping everyone.
And Dr. Marshall,
Yes,
how are
sir.
you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I
Good.
think I'm when they had it. But
It sounds like you didn't watch any of the Democratic convention this week. That's cool.
man,
It definitely sounds like he didn't.
man.
It sounds like you're really on the fence and you're undecided, and luckily you got time. And you know, because
He's an independent.
Everybody know I'm ABT.
Yes.
Go ahead, say it.
ABT sounds like a security company.
ABT. I'm ABT. All my grandchildren first. ABT. Anyway. All right, let's do news. We got good news. I want to get to our esteemed guest ASAP. First of all, let's someone that's near and dear to the Bay Area sports community. The wonderful Alvin Addles.
Yes.
Al Addles, Warrior former player, coach, GM, has passed away at the age of 87. And he's got a long article here, but Al Addles is synonymous with the Warriors. Oh no, Philadelphia Warriors and
that's right. He goes all the way back to Philly, huh?
He goes back to Philly.
Yeah.
Nicknamed the Destroyer for his physical style of play, the Warriors were his love and his only team. After the team then in Philadelphia selected him in the 5th round of the 1960 draft. That's a lot of years. That's a long time ago. It marks the longest stint with a single franchise, one person in league history. The 6-foot guard averaged 8.9 points, 3.5 assists, and 3.5 rebounds in 711 games with the Warriors over 11 seasons. And his number 16 jersey was retired by the franchise. And they won their first championship as in 75,
75, the Rick Barry team.
75, the Rick Barry
Right,
team.
get it right. No, you're not a real Warrior fan. I love you though. I got the Cubs hat on. He has a Cubs hat on, ladies.
I got a different hat on every week, man. Leave me alone. Okay.
Yeah. I know he.
1975.
Yeah.
So, and Al, I don't know if anybody met.
Yes.
Never met Mr. Addles. No.
Al,
I met him.
great guy. Great guy.
Great. Awesome.
Awesome. I mean,
Mr. Warrior.
He is Mr. Warrior.
Yeah, and it's rare that I can get these, these athletic types to come talk to the kids. But Al came to the club, talked to the kids. Yeah, I mean, he's just a great guy. Yeah, I go to the games, I see him. He's Mr. Warrior. You're absolutely right. And so yeah, it's some people, they're just so wonderful in life. You just smile when you say their name. Yeah. They can't live forever. But Alvin Addles, Mr. Warrior, what they say, they don't say rest in peace now. What they say, rest in power. Is that what they say now? Rest in power. All right. That was the one. There's a bunch of other stuff. Let's see, but I'm gonna.
Somebody else passed away this week. Anybody remember?
I'll let you do that one.
Anybody remember the TV show in the 80s, talk show, the Phil Donahue Show?
Oh, yeah.
Donahue.
Very popular back then. Yes,
Wow.
Donahue. Donahue used to have Farrakhan on. I remember that.
He did. He sure did.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
Oh, he was controversial.
Oh my
He used to have
God.
rappers on. He had all kind of. Well, anyway, the talk show icon Phil Donahue died this week at the age of 88, and I don't know if y'all remember. The young folks, you won't, because you weren't here, but he had a great talk show, and this is pre-Oprah. It kind of paved the way for Oprah's show.
He paved the way for Oprah.
Yeah.
There would be no
Oprah without Phil Donahue.
Yep, that's
right?
true.
Right. I think the show was in Chicago too, if I'm correct.
No, it wasn't in Chicago. I think he was in. It
Chicago?
started in his hometown somewhere in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, but then went national. But it was a big deal, and he used to have a lot of hip hop artists back then. Mike on his show. His show was really good.
Yeah, he did have Farrakhan on the show, and I did. I said, "You put Farrakhan on your show."
Yeah, big shout out to everybody that used to watch General Hospital before Phil Donahue and Oprah came on.
I was one of those people.
Yep, my grandma had me in there watching that, and I'm like, I kind of couldn't wait. General Hospital and all them shows are so boring to me. I kind of couldn't wait till Phil Donahue came. I was like, man, Phil Donahue, where that white man?
All right. Let me rest
in power to both of those folks.
Yes.
In our third story, we could, but I bet you our esteemed guest is going to talk about it. Maybe we'll just let him talk about that one.
Yeah, we'll let him talk about that.
The new, just what everybody out there wants to hear. It's the new vaccine is here.
What? You don't have to. I'm gonna get to that. Bro.
It's called a tease.
I'm gonna get to that. That's called a tease. Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Is there anything else I want to hear? The rest is all political. Let me leave it alone. All right. I don't know if this is a sign of anything. I doubt it, just because. Okay. Israel and Hezbollah signaled de-escalation after pre-dawn bombardments. I mean, bang bang on both sides, and then they said, "All right." But see, I don't. I shouldn't even said that, because right tomorrow they'll be back to bang banging. Oh man, please, Lord.
Well, we can hope.
I could pray.
We will definitely keep hoping.
I could pray if I could pray. All right, let's. Lady E, did you want to say anything before we get into our guest for the evening? Our guest for the evening is the esteemed, the one and only Dr. Andre Campbell. He's got plenty of accolades. So when people get so many like him, I don't print it out, because then I'll be reading on it. So I just let him toot his own horn, tell everybody what he does. We have him on tonight for a specific purpose, all things COVID-19, but he does so many wonderful things that, go ahead. All right, Doc. First, the one thing I will say, Dr. Campbell, you are, you blown up. Okay. You are. Yeah.
Dr. Campbell is the man.
You are the man.
Yes, he is.
You are the man.
Well,
So
thanks for those kind words. I appreciate it.
just go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into the topic for the evening.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here again. I've been here a couple times, and it's really a great experience to help try to educate folks and talk about COVID and what it means, but also many other things too. I've known Dr. Marshall for a long time, and I really appreciate him having me on this evening. So I'm a professor of surgery at the University of California, San Francisco. I'm an attending surgeon at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. I also do general surgery. I do ICU, so intensive care unit. I spent many, many years running an ICU and being an ICU doc, so I take care of clinical folks, and I also take care of a lot of the gunshot wound victims that we have in the city who come in. So unfortunately, because I've been here a long time, many families I've taken care of, multiple generations of folks who have been victims of violent crime, unfortunately. So, but I think that what I do is it's really a privilege. It's really an honor to serve the people in the city and county of San Francisco, like I have for the last number of years, and it's really been a great honor to be here. And over the last few years, I've become somewhat of an expert on COVID, because I took care of patients with COVID, and then I realized that
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on. So I gotta say that I'm just going back to the chief trauma surgeon, all the surgeries he did. There's a lot of brothers walking out here that owe their life to this man. I mean, a lot of brothers, when they need to get stitched up, it was Dr. Campbell, right? And in fact, I'm not gonna say his name. I remember you stitched up a brother. I went to visit him in the hospital the next day, right? Well, not a few days later.
God.
And it's like, dude, did you learn your lesson? Of course, they always say they learn their lesson when they in the hospital, right? And even he's like, man, I hope you learn, next time, I might not be able to lifted you up. So he has done so much for the young brothers just walking around this city. We're able to, be up and up and moving. You've done a lot of stuff to stop the bleed. He really has done a lot with his position of being a doctor, and you are so acclaimed.
And Doc, let me,
Wait, no,
can I
no,
throw this in?
I got to ask him a question. Then you
Okay.
can ask. You're so acclaimed. Uh, is this one of them black jobs you got?
Wow. Yeah, I have to tell you something really funny. And I'll tell you this is that, I'm a little active on social media. And when I heard that one day, I actually was in the operating room and there were 5 of us and we're all African American and we're all physicians and all surgeons. And I just sort of took a moment and took a picture. And then, of course, when the whole black job thing came out, I said, "This is me at my black job, saving people's lives." And of course, there had to be someone saying, "Well, you need to be taking care of the patient, right, and not taking pictures in the operating room." And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, right, this was a quiet moment. It took 2 seconds, and somebody else did it. And I'm like, come on now, it is." But it was just one of those things where I love Michelle Obama and what she said about her and President Obama, having 2 talented African Americans who happen to be black, and maybe Kamala Harris will, if she ascends to the presidency, which we all hope, that will be a black job. Again,
I had to get that one in.
we're pretty happy about that.
All right, so you can do it now. Go ahead.
Dr. Campbell, as I'm listening to you, what I'm thinking is, if for some reason you wanted to go into another career, Mike, I was thinking he could go and be a pretty good quiet storm DJ,
Yes.
late night quiet storm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a little bit of the James Earl Jones thing going on.
That's exactly right.
Good.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be doing. My wife says I should be doing voiceovers because I can
Good.
supplement my income,
I never
by doing that.
Yeah.
But I would,
Definitely got the voice. Okay.
Got the vocal tone.
I would love that. Well, that would be
Al Adams had a
wonderful.
voice too. You got to
Or a Barry White tribute band, something like that.
That's right. I can't sing, but I sound pretty decent on the radio. So
All right.
good.
I remember that. You've been with us really. I mean, when COVID first hit, when
That's right.
we were doing shows on that, and we needed some guidance, some expertise, and there you were. And every time we called, whether it be in the Zoom or coming to the studio, to give out the information that people were desperate for. So let me just start with this, because I think everybody knows the history of COVID. I read this, and let's start here. And you were talking about the FDA just approved new COVID vaccines.
Yep.
All right, and just tell us what you know. In fact, if you want to even make an opening statement on where things are with COVID, you can do so right now. And anybody who wants to call, please, I'm gonna give you the number. 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. We want to bring you up to date with all things COVID. I will say this. I remember you saying on the show that this is something that is going to be with us. I remember that. It's not.
That's right.
You said that, right? And
I sure did.
you were right. You were right. So where are things now?
Well, the first thing I think I have to say is that COVID is going to be with us for a longer period of time. It's not going away. It sort of goes up and down. There's ebbs and flows. And even this week, 1.8% of deaths in the United States are from COVID. It's about 2.5% of ED visits, people coming with COVID. The good thing is that.
Yeah, we're going to take the call. As soon as they come on, we're going to.
Okay.
Just hold on. All right. Because when they call, we're going to get them. All right.
No problem.
There you are. You're on Street Soldiers. You're with Dr. Andre Campbell. Any question you have about COVID-19, you are free to ask. You there?
Yes. COVID-19, on the congressional testimony between Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci, what are your opinions on that?
Well, I met Dr. Fauci a couple months ago. And of course, Dr. Fauci is from Brooklyn. and I'm from Queens, New York, so I agree with everything he says. Dr. Fauci has fought the infectious disease fight for the last 40 years, starting with AIDS, HIV, starting in the 80s, and then through 6 presidents. He is a really thoughtful gentleman. He will say what's on his mind, that's what I really love about him. He'll just give it to you, and he gave Rand Paul everything right back. When he testified about it, just sort of saying that they made the best call that they can make at the time they made it. And he's trying to put up. He's on stage with former President Trump talking about injecting bleach and taking ivermectin and all these maybe putting some light on you to do stuff and all these things that were misconstrued, that were wrong. And he said, "This is what we know right now, and let's make the best call possible." So I think that's if you see that he's coming from a scientific point of view, because he is a scientist that saves lives, and he saved lives of people for many, many years. I think you look at it like that, and you understand where he's coming from. But there's a lot of they'll be back and forth, and they'll say some people want him to be arrested because he did bad things, but from my point of view, he's a hero, and he saved a bunch of lives. And I think that's the message that we got to take, that he is a life saver.
All right, thank you, sir. 877-955-1061. If you got a question on COVID, give us a call and talk to Dr. Andre
I have a
Campbell.
question.
Yes, sir. You have a question.
Mask.
Yep.
Some people try to politicize it, but the bottom line is, I'm asking you, mask helps decrease the spread of germs just naturally, correct?
That's correct. So I have a prop here. Let me just show you my prop. All right, this is my prop here. Like I still have my mask in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a plane a couple nights ago and I wore it the entire time. So if I'm in a big crowd, if there's a lot of people around, if I hear people coughing, I'm gonna put it on, because the risk is definitely there. Masks are protective, and I think people they twist things around and say, well, it gets in the way, it does things, but it's a barrier against you
Right.
making someone else sick, or you getting sick yourself. So if you have one, have a high quality mask, and I got another one, I think, in my other pocket. I got another one here on this side.
You're a doctor with 2 masks. So he's serious.
I'm ready. So I think that's sort of how you have to do it. Now, do I wear them all the time? No. When I go outside, I don't wear it. Right. If I'm in a big crowd, like I was in an airport and there's 1,000 people and everybody's breathing down my neck, I'm going to put it on.
Right.
With that, if I'm on a plane and people are close to me, I'm gonna put it on with that. So I'm trying to basically keep myself from getting an infection, or if I have an infection, not spread it. So to me, masks work. It's a good idea. If if you're sick, it was interesting. I went to Japan many, many years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and I saw all these people in the street wearing masks. And this was way before we knew
Wow.
anything about SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, any of that stuff. And people wore masks because if they were sick, they didn't want to make anybody else sick.
Right.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, because I was just like, what's going on here? All these people with masks on, because I had never really seen that, until we got our run with COVID here in the United States. But I think it's a good idea. It protects you, protects your family. You don't want anybody to get sick. So I will wear a mask. And I know people make fun of folks with masks on, but I don't care. Right. It's my decision to do that. And, we have runs in the hospital where we still wear masks in the hospital, because we do have people come in. With COVID, I'll be in the middle of an operation. They'll say, well, they got COVID. So I put on my N95 mask, which these are the masks that I showed you. The N95 with a higher protective mask. But I also have the lower version, the one that I wear in the operating room, that kind of thing. So I always still have it in the hand, and I wear it when I walk around and I see patients, just to be safe.
877-955-1061. You have any questions about COVID? We're going to get into the new vaccines. We're going to talk about the recent surge and just the overall thing with COVID. So Doc, this is going to be tricky, because when you start talking to somebody calls, we're going to stop and we'll go to the calls, right? Because we want to get as many of them. So one more time, 877-955-1061. I don't know if you can remember where you were when the call came in, but
I was given. So let me just start again. I already said COVID is still here. We know how
it's still here.
small percentage of deaths, but I think about like this. So when we first started this whole journey in October of 2020, there were 26,000 people dying a day from COVID.
26,000 a day.
A day. And the total number of people
I didn't-
died in the United States is 1.2 million people died of COVID. This is as of August. Now worldwide, the number is 7 million. So those are the big numbers you're talking about. But last week, about 400 people died of COVID, or COVID.
So the mortality rate has
Oh, it's come down a lot.
drastically reduced.
Which is great. That is really great because there's this thing called herd immunity where people get it, they get vaccinated. So the potential of the vaccine, the virus to get you to the point where you die from it, if you're a normal host, is less than it was before. And we're still going through different Omicron variants. The latest one is KP3.
KP
3.1.1. That's the latest one. That's an Omicron variant.
Dot one.
So that's the latest one that's going around, and that's why 1 in 50 people in the United States may have gotten it. You probably got friends of people who just had it recently. So it's a pretty common thing that people have had it this recent this summer. And the vaccine, we have another vaccine. I've had a bunch of them, and I've had my run. I always say that COVID loves me, but I don't love COVID, right? So I just take it when they come out. And we have a new one that's out. It's both Moderna and Pfizer, and it's going to be available in the next couple of weeks or so around the country. And the people who should get it are people above a certain age. So that age would be 55 or immune suppressed. If you have, for example, if you have an organ transplant or something like that, you should get it. Now, the timing is something that's a little bit controversial. So if you take it right now, so let's say this, if you had COVID this summer, we were talking about this earlier, you probably have a 2 or 3 month window where you don't have to worry about taking a vaccine with that, because you have natural immunity because you just had the infection. So you may want to wait until the fall sometime. So when it goes up again, which will happen in January, February, because it's going to be like when you get your flu vaccine, you're probably going to get a COVID booster. That's probably the best way to look about, doing this thing in terms of the timing of when you take the vaccine. So if you had it just recently, don't worry about it for a couple of months. If you're coming up when it's time to get the flu vaccine, into November, December, then you should probably take it then.
What do you say to the people that have questions about, is the vaccine safe?
So I will say that they've given it to millions and millions of people, and if you had a real problem, a significant problem, it would have come out. Now there are people who they have allergies to things, and that's going to happen when you give it to 10 million people or 20 million, 100 million people. You're going to have a couple people have reactions to it, but the vaccine is the safest vaccine that we've had in America in recent history. So I would not worry about that. I know people were like, I'm going to have a reaction. It causes this. I mean, there was a whole run of people saying it was related to autism. There is no factual evidence support any of that stuff related to major complications related. It's a safe vaccine. People do not get sick from it. Now, you will have a reaction. Now, some people have a reaction when they get febrile. They feel bad after they take it. And unfortunately, I never had any of that. Right. And I wish I had, because then I would think it means your body is working it recognizes that you got something deposited in you. I never had any of that. I just, I went home and I was fine. And but then other people get febrile, they get chills. And those are common reactions that people have, for not only with COVID vaccines, but other vaccines also. So that's something that's expected.
Thank you.
To have that. But I know that's a valid concern, because people are scared to take it, because there was all this stuff that
exactly
people getting scared.
Exactly.
It's fine.
So, Dr. Campbell.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Let me throw the number out, lady. 877-955-1061. Call in if you have any questions. All things COVID, new vaccine, recent surge, the new, what is it? Strain KP3,
Omicron,
KP3 11111. Concerned call. Here's the man to talk to. All right, Lady E.
Thank you. So, Dr. Campbell, on the 12th, just the other day, I had a slight sore throat.
Okay.
On the 13th, I had full-blown, couldn't talk, aching. It was like I had got that COVID vaccine all over again, only it was multiplied times 100.
Okay.
It was horrible. And I finally got a test that I could take because I couldn't move Tuesday, the 13th. The 14th, I went out and got a test, and those two little lines on that little thing couldn't pop up fast enough.
I know the feeling. I've seen them. And
I thought, are
they-
you serious? And then, and so then I went into, okay, take this, do this, do everything that, take all the meds that I knew I was supposed to take, and I couldn't get out to go, so I just took my meds, not any prescription, vitamin C, just a lot of stuff to work on me, right?
Okay.
7 days later, I took another test. That red line popped up so fast. I'm like, wait a minute. It was brighter the second time than it was the first
Oh,
time.
wow.
I thought, is it because I'm old? What's going on? And
No,
I'm still congested. So yesterday I took another test. It's like, oh my goodness, hurry up. And it finally came up with just one line. Hallelujah. Now, but my chest still hurts and I'm still congested. So tell me, do I need to take myself to the doctor? Do I need to go to emergency and get some Paxlovid? Is it too late? Or do I just need to continue to stay hydrated, vitamin C, quercetin, zinc, maline, you name it. I mean, just what? What?
You're a little pharmacy there, lady.
I do.
You got some pharmaceutical powers.
Listen, I have my diffuser going. It's like, yeah, we
Oh, no, you're doing
can't be
it.
doing this.
So the first thing is Paxlovid has been around for a number of years now,
Right.
available, but you have to take it within the first couple of days of the infection. So you're out of the window
I'm making notes.
where it's going to be
Okay.
helpful. So you can't take it now because they won't give it to you. So if you get it, and you get it within the first few days, I think it's like within the first 3 or 4 days, then
Okay.
you take it. Now, when you take it, you get this metallic taste in your mouth. It doesn't feel great, but it works. And what it was built to do is to reduce the intensity of the infection in your
Okay.
body. Now, having the positive test 10 days out, that's actually pretty common. All right, so it's not anything that's unusual. Now,
Okay.
you could take the Paxlovid and you become negative, and then you can have this thing called rebound, where basically after the 5 days you take it, all of a sudden it comes back again, and you can stay positive for up to 10 days with that little nasal test that you have that you took. So that is not unusual. The fact you're still congested, that's not unusual. The fact that you're gonna have to rest, hydrate, do all the stuff you're doing, that's something that I would keep on doing. Try to get rest, which is something that you must do when you're sick like that.
Well, hold on, lady. I'm gonna take the call. Come right back to you. Put that in the parking lot. Okay, go right ahead. You're on Street Soldiers with Dr. Campbell. All things COVID. What's your name and what's your question?
Rich. I'm a little confused with what Dr. Campbell said earlier. He mentioned that the what do you call it? The immunity, herd immunity, is helping the COVID thing right now. But that was criticized heavily by in the first year that it wasn't working. It didn't work. He herd immunity. That's why they put and wanted everybody to be inside and not have any contact in the 10 feet, 6 feet separation. So how does that work, doctor?
Okay, so the herd immunity that was happening then, we didn't have it was such a brand new thing that people were just dying from it, right? You get it, you would just die. I mean, in New York, 38,000 people died from it. So the herd immunity thing was not working, right, at that point. But now, we've had multiple, I mentioned that we have the KP3.11 variant. It is now changed. So the virus mutates, right? When it came out, nobody had seen it. If you get it, you're going to die, right? If you're older, if you're immune suppressed, if you are a sick person, you're going to have it. So the herd immunity was not working at that point. Whereas this point, it's a little bit different with that. More people get it. People recover from it, right? Then they develop an immune response, and that's sort of how it's going right now. So now it is a different virus than it was because it mutates. So at the very beginning, the herd immunity was a little part of it, but it was not a big part of it because people would get it and they would get sick and they would die, particularly if they were immune suppressed and they were not a normal host for that. Whereas now people get it and they have a response, and that then the immunity spreads within the community because it's less intense than it was before. It's a different virus.
That helps. That helps, sir.
He left.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, okay.
Rich.
Okay.
That was Rich.
Okay. Rich, I hope I answered your question, but it's a different virus now and it's less intense than it was. Yep.
I got a question.
Yep.
Does washing your back
No, no,
help you out as far as the back? Yeah. Washing your hands and washing your back, correct? Washing your back helps, right?
He doesn't know this.
Well, washing your back, I don't think so. Washing your hands, right, does help, right? That does help. I mean, when you have contact with people, we used to all run around. I don't have any Purell, but we used to walk around with
Right.
all the time, and you'd spray it all over the place, and you would pray that you didn't get exposed to things. But hand hygiene is a big part of making sure we don't have any infectious disease. You take care of yourself. You see somebody, somebody rubs their nose, you just make sure that you wash your hands after you've done it, particularly if you've been rubbing your nose, right, or doing other things with that. But washing your back does not have any impact on it.
Gotcha.
I could tell you that I could tell you 100% that doesn't work. Right.
I will tell you the inside joke later on. 877-955-1061. 877-955-1061. You got any questions about COVID, the new vaccines, when you should take them, you shouldn't take? We got somebody. We see we're gonna come back to you. Don't go nowhere. Well, I know you're not. All right, you are on Street Soldiers with Dr. Campbell. What is your thought, question related to COVID? Go right ahead.
So my question is, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you for turning on your radio. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Christina Murphy from Berkeley. So my question is once we got that vaccine, most of the people that work for the county programs was told, if you don't take the vaccine, you can't work here no more because we get county funding and stuff, right? And so most people got the vaccine, even me. And then we end up getting sick anyway. How do you feel? What do you think about now that we got the vaccine, we're going to have pre-existing illness now when we apply for life insurance? What do you think about that?
So I guess, well, first of all, there are a lot of places that mandated taking the vaccine, number one, so that there are places where you couldn't work unless you took the vaccine because they didn't want you to spread the virus around. Now, pre-existing conditions, so if you get it, now there are people who have this thing called long COVID, and that's a small percentage of people. Long COVID could be chronic fatigue, maybe you have brain fog, all that stuff. They're not sure what percentage of people get that, but it is a percentage of people. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10% of people that get it where they could run, they can't run anymore, all that stuff. But that is, I don't think, as far as I know, that COVID has been considered a pre-existing condition. Now, there are a lot of things that are pre-existing condition, like diabetes, high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Those are, kidney issues. Those are chronic issues that will lead to problems. You have to acknowledge that when you're applying for insurance. So, but as far as I know, COVID has not been considered a pre-existing condition. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, all right. Got another call? We're gonna take all of them. We
Got
got
another question, ma'am?
help, ma'am? Nope, she's gone.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Lady, we're gonna try and
Okay, so this 90-day immunity. So that means now that I am fresh out of it, even though, I'm like moving out of it very slowly. Okay. Not in a hurry to get back, breathing around folks. 'Cause, I'm in Texas. Don't nobody wear a mask. Okay.
Texas is a different part of the country.
Oh my goodness. I just need to say, I put on the mask and everybody looks at me like, isn't she an alien? So
that is true. That is true. Texas.
Oh my goodness. So that means for the next couple of months or so, I don't need to be concerned about getting this new COVID shot.
Yeah, I would not get it now because your body has to, first of all, you got to recover. And then once you recover, then you got to look at, okay, this is August, September, October, November. So by November, I would consider doing that, taking the vaccine then. So, but you're going to be okay the next few months. So I wouldn't stress it.
Okay.
Got another guy to call. Go right ahead.
Can you turn down your radio whenever you call? Turn down the radio, please. Thank you.
I apologize.
Go right ahead, man. You're on with Dr. Campbell and the Street Soldier. What's your question or?
Yes, I have a question. I've been in the medical field for about 39 years now, and now that COVID is, they have all this help for COVID, and we don't actually die from it. We don't have any compensation at work. It's almost as if we're not dying, so they're not going to give us any compensation if we get COVID while we're working, even though we're putting ourselves at risk every day. But if we're not dying, they don't care. And so to me, it's like I'm coming to work putting myself at risk, caring for people. And the place I'm working for and a lot of other places, they stop paying people a little bit extra or giving us incentive to go to work to feel better about helping people and knowing that we're putting ourselves at risk of coming home and maybe carrying it to our family and friends.
Well, I have to say that, first of all, thank you for your service to people in the healthcare industry for so long, because it's a blessing to have such a long career with that. But, COVID is no different than the other things that have come along, whether or not it's any other infectious disease, whether this was SARS-CoV-2, but then there was SARS-CoV-1 that people got. But then there was also, other things related to, when HIV first came, we didn't really know how it was transmitted. We knew that it was a thing. I remember in medical school when I was there here at UCSF, they said, okay, this thing is called gay-related infectious disease. That was the name, was grid disease. And then it became HIV, and then we had AZT, and now we have all these antiretrovirals. So it becomes a chronic thing. So, but people get exposed to things at work, and we didn't even know. We didn't know it was bloodborne. We didn't know how to get it, and now we know it's related to needle stick, sexual exposure, those kind of things, that lead to that. But at least we understand, what it is now. But think about. I'm just going to give an example. In Africa, they had an outbreak of Ebola.
Yeah.
So Ebola is spread by blood. And what happened was the nurses and the doctors were actually dying of the disease because they would take care of them and they do it. But even at the beginning of COVID, there was a doctor who was in China who said, this is a bad thing, right? You need to make sure we protect each other and we need to learn about it. And the guy ended up dying from it while he was taking care of patients.
I remember
it was a really brave doctor. He was, trying to get out on social media and on TV. And of course he couldn't, and he died from it. But that's the nature of what we do as doctors or nurses. I mean, at the very beginning, I was wearing 2 masks and a face shield, and I was taking care of patients, and people would come in and they start coughing on me, and I was just like, okay, like I got to do what I got to do. And it was kind of scary. I mean,
well, I spent over 20 years in the emergency room, 4 different emergency rooms, started off from the Air Force, which escalated from there.
Yep.
But I'm scared to go back in the emergency room because COVID has changed the whole emergency world of everybody that comes in there. And I don't know if they're compensating in that world, but I know they're not compensating in any other job because I feel that we're still putting ourselves at risk and could die.
Yeah, you do put yourself at risk, and that's why you got to protect yourself. So I would definitely wear that mask when you're going in places,
But they were paying us before, but now they're not. So I don't understand why,
Oh, I mean, like,
that's all. They were just compensating us,
Is
giving
that
us a little,
because of
come
mortality?
hazardous duty pay. Is that what you're trying to say?
pretty much, whatever it was to motivate people to come to work, because
gotcha.
some people were quitting, retiring, and saying, I'm not
That's
going
right.
to work.
You're right. That's
And
it is. It's still scary.
When you're a true nurse, you gonna show up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is scary.
Yeah.
And you're right about that. And I don't think I have a great answer for that, right? Other than protect yourself so you can protect you and your family, wear that mask. Somebody, if you have to go in and take care of them, make sure you're covered up. I mean, I get exposed too. I mean, I'm operating on somebody. They run in there, say the patient's got COVID, and yeah, I have a mask on, but I don't have the proper mask. I don't have the N95, which I was showing a little while ago.
My face as best I can. And you know, the last thing I want to do is carry something home and they don't care at work, and they make you use your vacation and everything else.
That's right.
But I'm coming to work and I'm getting sick at work from the people I'm caring for. And so to me, I have a problem with that. But it is, you know, obviously nobody's dying like they were, so they don't feel they need the urgency to give any incentives, I guess.
Yeah, that is true, and that's unfortunate. And you have a good point, I think.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for what you said.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have another question.
Go right ahead. No, hold on. We got another call, lady. We got another. All right, you're on Street Soldiers, all things COVID with Dr. Campbell. Go right ahead. What's your name and what's your question or your concern?
Okay, so again, I was trying to apply for life insurance, and they told me that since I had COVID before, that it was a pre-existing condition, and they made my policy go up on how much I had to pay. Also, I was wondering how come they don't really talk about educating the community around the things we eat and how we should be more mindful on exercising and all those things, because from what they teach us is that COVID is just like a cold. So if it's just like a cold and we eating all this food that they keep letting come in that's fake, and then we putting in our body, it's causing all these parasites. That's what's killing us, causing cancer. And most of us people that got the vaccine is dying from other stuff now. So now we have pre-existing illnesses that we never had before we got the vaccine. That's what I'm saying in experience and in my own personal experience.
So there's no
Dr.
relationship
Campbell.
between food
No.
and
No, there's no relationship between food and COVID.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that exercising, eating right, that's all the right things to do, but there is no relationship between food and COVID, and there's nothing like that. Now, the things you did say that was interesting is that COVID was treated as a pre-existing condition, and actually, I did not know that. Right, and I'll have to learn more about that because that is sort of something that is
That's
interesting
crazy.
and that's new because I don't think it's fair.
I don't
You
think
know,
it's fair
because
either.
it's sort of something that that's a new thing.
Yeah.
But the insurance, you have to understand. I deal with insurance companies a little bit, and they are
Do some research
difficult
on that.
to deal with. But I'll find.
Yeah, we'll try
I'll
to get
do
back.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll do that. I'll write that down. And I'll
Okay.
get you some
Thank you,
information
Doc.
about that.
All right. Got another call?
2 minutes.
Oh, we do? We don't.
No calls.
Okay. Well, I'll take it.
Okay,
Then. Hey.
Lady E.
thank you. So this is what makes me think that the relationship with the insurance, because the question is, what impact does COVID have on one's lungs? How much damage does COVID do to the lungs? And how long will it take for whatever damage that is done before that is healed? And what can be done to expedite that healing or just to facilitate that healing?
Well, first of all, everything depends on, thank you for the question. Everything depends on what your baseline lung function is, right? So if you have normal lung function and you don't have the things I talked about, either chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or anything related to any type, because there's acute and then there's also chronic lung disease. You can have the interstitial lung disease. There's all kinds of different things that you can have that create a problem with your lung beforehand. And those people who have that will have a greater chance of having a problem with their breathing or long-term problem. Now, if you're healthy beforehand and you don't have lungs, you don't smoke, and you don't do any of that stuff, then your chances of recovery are pretty good, overall related to getting over COVID. And it's just a matter of time with that. But that is definitely a concern that you have. But the people who have pre-existing conditions will have a greater chance of having.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ann.
All right. So we are not done with this conversation with Dr. Andre Campbell on Street Soldiers Radio. Go ahead and join us on YouTube Live at Stay Alive and Free. And if you ever want to listen to any of our recent podcasts, you can go ahead and check them out at Stay Alive and Free. We are also available on all of the apps that you use to listen to your podcast. All right. We'll see you on the other side.
We'll be back. Thank you. Hour number two, Alive and Free Street Soldiers Radio. great first hour with our guest, Dr. Andre Campbell, talking about all things COVID, all things COVID, all things COVID. Wonderful calls. I love when we get those calls, and I love the explanation that Dr. Campbell is providing to people. It gave me a lot of thoughts. I've written a number of things down. I love 80 late, Lady E recounting her own experience with COVID was no, the up and it just happened. So, any questions you might have had, um, that you might have had, I thought you were a good, what a case study? Is that the word that we use? A good,
Yes, and she was
just
she
a wonderful case
gave a
study.
very accurate description of what it's like
Yeah.
to
So,
suffer from COVID acutely.
yeah. And I knew this before because she's big on, taking vitamins. And I mean, she said that in 2020,
Yeah,
right?
she told me
I
all
mean,
about
you're
them.
like,
Yeah,
you're like that.
it's locked up because of her.
I'm not, break the immune system and all that sort of thing. But let me just say this and just listen to you, Doc. I gotta say, first of all, the mortality rate, the decline, it's just, I'm astounded. I'm astounded. I remember when, when COVID started, it was like, to me, what was it? The bubonic plague that they had in the,
That's right.
in the Middle Ages. That's the only thing I could think of. And it was like,
Very scary.
it was sweeping across the country. It was sweeping across the world. And, it was, yeah, I mean, we know the country went lockdown. It was new and it was new and it was new. And we never seen, I guess, what was the reference point? The Spanish flu of 100 years ago, right?
That's right.
Was the
Spanish flu.
closest thing to it. And of course, none of us were alive 100 years ago. So, and to go from that, and you told me the mortality rate, and it is now, it's just unbelievable to me, and I gotta say, I'm gonna give as much big hand clap, big everything to the medical community for
That's right.
meeting the challenge. Meeting the challenge in the face of this people are scared. When people are scared, then nothing works, right? So I really do, and then just to hear that number, I was blown away. You've used the phrase before. It's here to stay, right?
It is.
And people have compared it to the common cold, right? Not in the way it affects you, but like the common cold is here, right?
Yep.
So we'll always have, it seems like, some strain, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, right? Some strain, some variant of COVID that will pop up from time to time because it does mutate. So, and in your opinion, I guess we should be prepared for long term, like we have a flu shot. I mean, am I right there?
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. It's going to be with us, and I think that we just have to be mindful that it's still out there. You can get it. That you want to try to take care of yourself as best as you can, with it. And the cold comes, and you try to deal with that. And each year, if you fit into a certain group, immune suppressed, or a certain age, you get a flu vaccine, and it's going to be the same thing. Like COVID will be the same way, where you'll get a new. They'll up the new vaccine is updated, and it's actually geared to this new variant of COVID that has come out. It's another variant, Omicron, and it is updated so it can be has immunity against that. So you take it, your body responds, and you can become immune, relatively immune to it. You can still get it, but it may be that you get it a little less acute than before. So, but the fact is that we've come a long way from 26,000 people dying to 400. I mean, that's a huge number, and it's a miracle of modern science. The scientists who spent the time developing, and the interesting thing is that they were working on this 5 to 10 years.
That's the other thing you brought to light.
And that is, that's so when it came, then they had Operation Warp Speed, and they actually were able to kind of get it to market. And Moderna first Pfizer first, and then Moderna came out with a vaccine. And Johnson had one. And then we finally came to the conclusion that the best vaccines were the Pfizer and the Moderna one, which is what everybody has pretty much taken around the world. Although there was a vaccine that was given in China that wasn't as effective. There was some given in South America, but people just took whatever they could take because you couldn't get a hold of it.
The thing I mean, it's just there's a political candidate right now who do this, who is basing his whole candidacy, on vaccine denial and I remember the thing that struck me right was people saying, "Well, develop a vaccine, develop a vaccine, develop a vaccine," and it seemed like we trusted the medical community, and then suddenly you had to see it was like. And I know people, right now, no vaccine, no vaccine. And again, Dr. Marshall grew up on vaccine.
Yeah.
Right.
When I was a kid, I took vaccines in medicine. I had the little sugar cube for polio, and then I got shots in my arm, and it was like, okay, what's the issue here? The vaccine deniers, that must have been really tough. And it's still here, right? There's a whole bunch of folks right, for doctors like you who would say, no, it's safe, it's gonna work, it'll do this, I'll do that. So that's remarkable to me.
Yeah, there always will people who will deny that vaccines will work, and there always has been. But what now we have kind of an echo chamber and different forms of media. You kind of go to where you want to hear your message, you want to hear whether or not it's the left side or the right side, as opposed to going to the place where, listen to the scientists, listen to the people who are telling the truth. I mean, when we went through this before, people were saying there's such thing as alternative facts, and I couldn't believe that actually you could say that. I thought a fact was a fact, right?
I thought a fact was a fact.
Right? There was like, okay, there's a fact. And when we practice medicine and we practice different types of preventive medicine, actually doing operations on people, whatever you do, you have to try to get as much information you can about the problem that the patient has, and you try to deal with it as best as you can. And there's no alternative. There's just a fact that this is how things work. And then, it's been proven scientifically, like the vaccines were, and the vaccines work. And the vaccinal denial thing is just gone off. I mean, I don't think, when you think about polio and what it affected so many people in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and before. And then when the vaccine came, whether it's a Sabin or the Salk vaccine,
Smallpox.
it was just so smallpox, how we eradicated that. And now, we have the Mpox, which is monkeypox, which is the real word that we call it Mpox, and not necessarily monkeypox. Those things, they're vaccines that work against those disorders, and you got to make sure we get them out. That people take them. The people high risk should take them and be treated.
The theories that were almost like accusations that were associated with the vaccine, and one of the big ones was impotency, right?
Yep.
That I heard that I heard, well, if you have it, I ain't had no babies now, but in the future, and I want to say, well, where's the relationship? Have you, I mean, but those things, because it didn't pop up from data, because there wasn't any data.
No, it was not.
They were just concerned that. Can you explain that? How can you explain? You're a scientist.
Well, I think so. People can make all kinds of things up, and it does not. The germ cell line, which carries the ovaries and the oocytes and the sperm in a man, the oocytes in a woman, they are not affected by these vaccines. The vaccines do not affect that. So you'd rather take the vaccine, not get the infection, than get the infection and get sick from it, because there's major complications associated with the infection, right? If you get it and you haven't been vaccinated. If you've been vaccinated, you have some immunity from your previous vaccines, but you want to make sure that you take everything you can and be up to date on your vaccinations.
Especially then. I mean, I know people. I know brothers. I ain't taking it, man. I don't have no kids now, but in the future I'm gonna have a kid. But what makes you think? And they didn't do it, right? Or then there was a crazy thing. You're gonna turn green, and I ain't turned green yet, right?
Where people would joke they will get another extremity or grow an extra arm. I mean, there's all kinds of ridiculous things that go along with it. But all that stuff is totally wrong, and that there's not been any major side effects, from it, with that. Now there are people who get COVID and get long COVID. They can have real problems associated with that, and that's a much worse problem than maybe having a side effect with fever or something like that from the actually taking the vaccine.
And then obviously because it's long COVID, they don't have enough data or information to find out how it's going to affect those people long term. Early, I've heard long COVID, right? And I get it's almost like I get sound bites about it. What are they associate with long COVID at this point?
So just a couple things that I think we're still, first of all, I'll say we're still learning about what long COVID is. But the first thing that people have, they may have excessive fatigue. They may have issues with shortness of breath because they have lung damage, from it, or this other brain fog thing that they talk about that you have. Remember, I think people look at it like this: it's a vasculitis, or infects the blood vessels, and the blood vessels could be anywhere in your body. Could be in your lungs, could be in your brain, could be in your heart. It could be in different places. So if you think about it like that, right, then that's sort of a variation of that. Now they're still studying it. They're trying to figure out, what's going on with it. How it works and who will get it. Because I think right now they're not exactly sure who will get it and who doesn't get it. Right, they're not sure
Which person that
about
has
that.
COVID is going to be
That's
long
right.
COVID.
Yeah, some people have it and they don't have any problems afterwards, and other folks get it and then they have, long-term consequences. They have clinics now where they take care of people with it, and they're still trying to understand. They're still trying to get what is the diagnosis of long COVID, right? What happens when you get it? How could you? What can you do to try to get treated for it?
The one thing I
Well, the
have.
brain fog is real, let me just say. But that's real, okay? And even without Paxlovid, your taste buds, man, everything for a while, crackers tasted like styrofoam. Super okay. You know, why am I even eating here? You know what I'm saying? It all tastes like mush. But yeah, but it starts to come back. It does come back. But
It does. It
yeah,
does come
brain
back
fog is real.
afterwards with that. People reported changes in their taste sensation, not having taste. That's been reported.
Yes.
People have issues maybe related to hearing, maybe, with stuff, other things. But they're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, how it comes on, and I think they can't predict if you're going to get it or not. With that, they know that if you take Paxlovid, your risk of getting it is less, right? But they don't know much more than that, right? Than that, because some people don't want to risk having a rebound or the side effects because taking Paxlovid is, they're big horse pills. You take it, you got to take one and another, take it several times a day. So it is something, but we do know that it keeps you out of the hospital and keeps you out of the ICU, which is why people take it.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
But I will say this, and since I know several people who have gotten it, including people close to me.
I thought it was allergies. I thought I had allergies. And then I tested and it didn't, it said negative. And I was like, oh, okay, phew, because I don't want to get people sick. And then I couldn't smell. And then I did the nasal spray because the allergies were so bad and I was taking the medicine. And then my best friend was like, because mind you, I went on vacation. And then my best friend was like, you might need to test again. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So went home and like Mrs. Bell said, it was bright red, 2 lines. Just, yep.
And that's pretty common. At first, the
Yeah.
first test will be negative, and then
Yeah.
the test an hour later, the day later, and then it's positive. That's pretty
Yeah.
common.
But I like the taking precaution thing where, and I think of what, Alive and Free teaches is, a healthy person stands alone because you have to kind of be strong when you're feeling the symptoms. Wear the mask if you want to, and don't worry about what other people say. If you need to order the food in, then pay a little extra if you're going to keep yourself safe. And yeah, I just, you don't have to listen to everybody. Just trust the experts.
But looking back, and it's just remarkable to me. This
Yeah.
is just 4 years, right? I mean, you're talking about 2020.
Yeah,
right?
it started
4
in
years.
it started in
That's
March
March
of 2020.
right?
I
We
can
said
right.
that in 4 years.
Yeah.
I can say this, and speaking of, there
Yeah.
is concern when you get COVID,
Yes.
but there's not the fear,
Oh, like before.
like before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I gotta say that it's like, it's gonna run its course.
Yes.
And that's what that I just going back. People, like, I don't know what's gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be God. I'm gonna die. And it But there is a thing we have seen it's run its course with enough people
Yes.
to know that. Now this is what I've seen. If you do what you're supposed to do, what's recommended, that's
Yep.
what I'm
Yes.
looking.
That's right.
Some may take a little longer, like 7 days or 10 days,
Yeah.
but that is just so remarkable to me. I just going over how remarkable. Let me say something else remarkable: the development of the home test.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
See to me,
Yes.
I mean, they went from like
Mm-hmm.
going into the public health place to
Yeah.
get,
Yep.
that is just the way that the medical community tackled this thing.
Yep.
And when you got to the point where you could test yourself at home,
Yeah.
you can't. I was just like, you didn't have to go to the hospital. You didn't have to go that. That in itself was just.
They're
Am I
getting ready
going
to give
over
up.
here?
Yeah.
I gotta give you folks, you doctors, you were serious about doing something about this,
Yes.
which is what doctors are supposed to do.
Well, we tried it. They're getting ready, I think, to give out free home tests again because it goes up there. What they do now is they've gotten so that they actually follow the wastewater levels of the virus, and the wastewater virus levels are going up again, but it's not as high as it was in 2020 and 2000. The big waves were the first wave, and then the second wave was in 2022, where the wastewaters went up, and now it's going up again, but it is less intense than it was at that time. So, which is a good thing overall.
I have seen a couple of things, and that's why I gotta have you on because I don't know which is real and which is not real, or who makes it up, or something. One time, just in the last month or so, there was a alert out to mask up, right? And I don't know if it's and I'm saying, is that for everybody? Is that, when somebody puts out a mask up thing, I don't know if it's just for this. So, how,
Yeah, so
everything with
they'll
masking,
do that every so often when they think the incidents are going up again. Just sort of be careful. I mean, when you're outside, you don't have to mask. That's just because there's enough circulation around. If you're inside and it's people are coughing all over the place, you're going to put it on because that kind of makes sense. To me. And of course, if I'm taking care of patients who may have it, I have to mask up. With that. But you have to. I think now they try to put it into the context of you taking responsibility for yourself, and that whether or not you feel. But if you feel sick, don't go to work, right? If you have to go out, wear a mask so you don't infect people. Test yourself early on, so you know whether that you have it or. Because remember, the common cold is still going around. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of other stuff
the flu. Yeah.
that you can have that's not COVID, right?
Yeah.
And if you
Right.
have a cold, yeah, you can give it to somebody else, but it's not a big deal. If you have COVID, it's more contagious, with that. So there's still, colds going around, other things that are happening. So you want to make sure you test yourself, you take precautions. They're trying to get you to take precautions when things go up again. So those are the stuff. That's the way I look at it. For me, being on an airplane is high risk. So yeah, I'll wear a mask, with that when I do that because people could cough on you and you could get it. A number of times I've been on a plane where somebody behind me is coughing and I get sick. That's pretty common. Because it gets in the air and the air is not uh, cleaned up as much as it should when
Right.
you're at high altitude.
In 2020 and 21, this thing was at the federal level. You had Dr. Fauci there every day.
Yep.
You want to update, you just turn on the TV, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's
Every
right.
day. And, whatever Dr. Fauci said, and I checked with you, right?
That's right.
And that's why we had you. It's not there at that level now. So where do you get I mean, something will pop up on my phone,
Oh.
right? And where do we get? Is it coming from the CDC? Is it
Yeah, so you
where's
can
the
go
latest
to the
info come
the
from?
latest information is at the CDC website. So what you do is you just say CDC COVID information, and you go right to the CDC Centers for Disease Control, and what they'll do is they'll give you an update on what's going on with COVID at that time. So because they have snapshots, daily snapshots, weekly snapshots, and all the information, they probably have the best information. But the second place to look at is the World Health Organization. because they have also good data on that. So these are, you have to go to reliable places. So
WHO.
CDC, Center for Disease
Mhm.
Control,
Mhm.
and the World Health Organization, or WHO, those are reliable places where you can get information about that. Now, the city and county health department is also some place to go to get reliable information. So you can see kind of what's going on in your community, whether that's here in San Francisco or all over California or all over the country. You know, your local health department is a very great resources to help you get information about where the virus is at that day.
So go ahead, Ann. Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about like with the kids,
Yeah.
because now my daughter's 6, first grade, and the rules have sort of changed with if they're supposed to go to school or if they can stay home. And when you look it up online, they say if you're asymptomatic but positive, you could still go to school, but you're more or less expected to mask up. And to me, that's crazy. Like, I know you don't want to miss school and there's funding and things like that. But I just think you never know who you're gonna infect, even if you're asymptomatic. So I don't know. I just thought those rules were different and new for 2024.
Well, well, the rules are changing all the time. So if you're asymptomatic, it's hard to, like, you don't know if you're sick or not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the other thing is
You don't know.
when it
Right.
first came out, we didn't know if you're asymptomatic, if you can spread it. And there's actually a thing where if you're asymptomatic and spread it. If you're symptomatic, if you're sick, it's
Yeah.
probably better to
Just
stay
stay
home
home.
to
Yeah.
do things,
Okay.
even
Yeah.
as hard as it is. I mean, but it's anything. I mean, if you feel sick, try not to go to work, right, or go to school if you feel sick. If you feel better, then that's fine. But the poor kids, they caught right in the middle of it. They're
They are nose pickers and they share
they do
food and
everything, and
it's just like, oh my
and
God.
they infect each other. They give each other hugs. They give you a hug. They basically they basically are fomites, so they basically
Yeah.
spread infection to you because of course you got to take care of them. Then you get sick, and
Yeah.
then that's just how it's always been. But now it's COVID, right?
Yeah.
When they get it may be something that's spreading, but they'll let you know if there's an outbreak at your school. They'll let you know what's going on. That's a pretty common thing now. They'll let you know and they'll say be careful, and each school will have different rules about what you do in terms of keeping your kids home. But in general, if your kids are sick, you probably shouldn't bring them to school.
Yeah. What
And-
was so funny is like when I was sick, I was so scared I was going to get her sick and my best friend, they were fine. they, they tested, they all tested and everyone was
Yeah,
good. It was
it's hard
just
to tell
me.
who's going to get sick
Yeah.
because some people do get sick and some people don't,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to tell.
Good. Do you have your COVID vaccine card there, Dr.
Right there.
I was looking for my COVID vaccine card because I wanted the doctor to tell me I got all of them, but then there was one I think I didn't get,
Oh,
which was
okay.
the third. Was there a third one? There
Oh,
was the
there's
two.
well, right
There was a
now,
third. So,
right.
I've
so,
lost
so
track.
tell me what I should do.
Yeah.
Now that you didn't help them, tell
Okay.
me what I should do.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you now. You may have missed one or two because, like, I have six. Right.
Oh no, I missed it. I missed
They may have missed one or two, right? And this is seven coming now, right? So at the hospital, they were very good about keeping us up to date.
Okay.
They could give you, they would give it to you in the hospital. So as soon as I got a chance to get it, I would do it. Actually, maybe 2 months ago, I was going to get another vaccination with something. And I said, "Can you give me an updated COVID?" They said, "No, you're updated already." I said, "Okay." This is before this new one came, with that, because I'm gonna get it. So, but what'll happen is because the virus is changing, you missed one, that's okay, right? Just get the latest one that they have, right?
So go get the latest one, right?
Yeah, I would get the
As soon
latest
as
one.
I
Yeah, when
can.
it's available.
Okay, when it's available.
When it's available, get the latest one.
And it will be available
Next couple of weeks.
Next couple
Oh,
weeks.
wonderful.
Okay. All right.
Good.
So if you had the actual infection, you don't have to get it, right,
little bit.
for a couple months because you have some immunity, right? But if you're not had it, then you got to think about the timing, and the timing is that complex thing we are talking about a little earlier. So do you know that in the winter there's going to be an upsurge? So do you take it now and then have immunity for a couple months? Which they know that 3 or 4 months you have immunity if you take the vaccine now. So from September, October, November you have immunity, but then maybe in the winter you may not be as immune as you would be if you took it a little bit later. So it's really you got to talk to your doctor and figure out what's the best strategy based on your age, your comorbidities, whether or not you're immune suppressed. Those things are things that help judge you because you make the decision with your doctor about when you should take it.
So I put it in the
Yeah.
notes on my phone. Man.
Good. Yeah.
Get the next vaccine in a couple of
We
weeks.
gotta consider that for you. Yeah.
I put it in my notes.
I had to be mindful of when I got the vaccine because the first one I got sick, and I wasn't expecting that. And then maybe the second one I didn't so much, but then the third one there were symptoms.
Yeah.
And so I had to be mindful of when and what day of the week type stuff, because you do feel it a little bit, so
I
yeah.
just got to say, God bless you because you feel it because I don't feel anything. Right? Now, some people go, some people
I
they go,
didn't feel much when I
some
got
people
my
have to
flu.
actually
Yeah.
go home
Yeah.
and take
They-
the night off,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because or the
Yeah.
next day because they feel terrible. And if
Yeah.
you know you're
Every
gonna,
vaccine I took me out 4 days.
that's right.
It did.
So,
That's right.
Every single one of them. I was out 4 days.
yeah.
Aching, fever. Man, that's why I recognized it. When I got this little sore throat, I thought, this is not your typical sore throat. Oh my goodness sakes. So for
So
me,
you have to know how your body responds, right?
Yeah.
you
And you
got to pay attention to your
pay
body
attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pay
because
attention.
it is very clear. It does not discriminate. It lets you know. And so for everybody that's listening, I definitely encourage you to pay attention to everything Dr. Campbell said. And then make sure you keep your immune system strong. Whatever foods you need to eat that will strengthen your immune system, whatever foods you need to stay away from that weaken your immune system, pay attention to that. And then the minute your body says this doesn't feel right, don't delay. Address it right away.
Right.
No.
That's a good message. I like that message. That's a great message.
I was waiting
Like
for her
it.
to say, Ann.
Baby.
Baby, see, that's what I was waiting for. On cue, right,
Let
baby.
me just say,
It makes you
that was no joke. I thought, Lord Jesus, is it going to kill me? I mean, oh, what else do I need to take? Every time my eyes opened up in the morning, I thought, hallelujah.
As they
Woo.
and this too shall pass, right?
And it did.
And it did.
Woo.
Let me ask you, Doc, just as we wrap up here, worldwide, where's COVID? You mentioned the World Health Organization. It said here the surge was at least 84 countries and it continuing to climb. Uh, there was a time when early on we were concerned about, vaccine supply and sharing the vaccines with the rest of
Yep.
the world, particularly, the African nations. How has that worked out?
I think the accessibility of the vaccines are better than they used to be, and they're more plentiful than they were because when it first came out, of course, only certain people would get it, and then you had to have accessibility. Maybe the people who needed to get it, which were mainly people of color who were dying in large amounts, did not get access to it. And as far as I know, the accessibility of all the vaccines have gotten a lot better now, particularly in the United States and around the world. People have gotten it. Now, there's still struggles with other vaccines because there was, you probably saw this that recently the Mpox, the monkeypox vaccine, there was a struggle to get it to Central Africa where there's an outbreak now that's going on. So there's still some distribution issues related to other vaccines, but as far as I know, related to COVID, the vaccines are more readily available.
I must think there's nothing more. If I was a doctor, I'm a viral prevention guy, and I love getting around. That's how we look at it as a disease. But being in a room with medical people from all over the world, with one common goal, to try and deliver, effective vaccinations to, to everybody, because anybody can get it, right? And so, it seems there are times, again, maybe I'm naive here, that the politics takes a back seat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you think about smallpox was eradicated from the world. They actually went on a campaign to get rid of smallpox, and actually they got rid of it in the 60s or 70s. It was eliminated because they went on a worldwide campaign to get rid of it.
It's true, yeah, they
And
did.
and now and they were successful because it was so destructive. The lesions were so bad. People were so symptomatic. But the problem with COVID is that people. Let's say if you ended up getting a smallpox blisters like you had that when you had COVID, people would say, "Yeah, I don't want to get it." Right. But what happened was people you couldn't tell who had it or who didn't have it. So it was a little bit of like, well, maybe I shouldn't take it. What's going on? But when it came to smallpox, people got in line. They got the shots. They went into all parts of the world to give the vaccination, and they were successful in eradicating, smallpox from the world. So if we, as a medical community, decide we're going to get rid of something, that can be done,
Oh yeah.
and can be done successfully with the
Yeah.
help of politicians, public health workers, and everyone else around the world who care about medical treatment of patients.
Well, I just want to congratulate the medical community. I just them days where everything was shut down, you couldn't go no. I mean, it was like, yeah, and COVID changed the world. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it changed the way we operate. It changed the way working, the way people work at some people. It just changed everything. Uh, but I gotta say, it's just remarkable the way the medical community responded to something that we had never seen before, and got it under control, and then didn't play like it ain't going away. I mean, I like that message. It might not kill you, but and the fact that you kept saying, it's seasonal, it can mutate, it's this, is that, and I just think you've done a wonderful job as thank you, and all those medical workers. What we had another name for them, who are going into hospitals every day and just tackling this, and like that gentleman that called in earlier, and be concerned about themselves and are on the front lines.
Still,
Yeah,
still on the
yeah,
front.
yeah. Well, then especially because I mean, now we got a little more data. I'm just thankful, so thankful for them, and so yeah.
Yeah, it was scary. It was a scary time, and it's less scary now than it was. But certainly, we had callers who were expressing concerns about getting exposure and how we used to talk about hazardous space, send people home. Now there's still a lot of people. This whole remote work thing has really changed the way we interact with each other. Because
Yeah.
of Zoom and
Oh yeah.
and all the other platforms, Teams, and all the other platforms to
Well, it changed the
do
world.
things. People, it's changed the way we do things, the collaboration that people have. I mean, the things you could do that we thought that you couldn't really do before, but now you could do a lot of things remotely, which you couldn't do before. I mean, even like tonight's an example of how we do things. Miss E is in another location, and doing things. So this is how we changed the world that we did things. We all used to be remote, but now we can think about that. Now we could gather more. We could do things. Things are pretty much back to normal now. I mean, as you travel around, I mean, I was just out of the country, and there's just people everywhere, just doing what they have to do.
People are
And there was
everywhere.
a time that you couldn't do that at all, and that was it was scary. I mean, you wouldn't want to go out. If you go out, who you're going to get exposed to. You want to make sure that you keep your family safe, and it was scary. I mean, when I went to work for a long time during the pandemic at the beginning, I would come home and I said, okay, I got to wash the COVID off of me. And some people would have, take off their clothes outside the house and then basically come in and shower and do things. These are, but in New York, people were just dying left and right,
Yeah.
and we didn't know it. And some of my
Yeah.
friends, they had kids, and they would basically, take off everything and they go right in the shower and then shower themselves down before they could get exposed to the kids because they didn't know what was going on. If you go to work, I mean, there were places in New York where 20, 30 people were dying the same day of COVID, or people were dying in the street because they couldn't get to the hospital. It was pretty a scary time, and we don't have that now. So now we're just adjusting to the post-COVID world and what it means. We're still dealing with some of the financial things here in New York and all the major cities, but I think ultimately, we'll figure it out. The main thing was saving lives, and we were able to do that, and then the rest of it, we just have to keep working on it, and as we go along.
I want to say thank you, man. Thank you, thank you. You've been our trusted
Oh,
trusted person we've gone to.
yeah.
I
We
appreciate
need what they call we need a level head. We need a level head that will tell us the truth. So you've been
Exactly.
doing that right from the beginning, and thank you for tonight. Thank you for, people gotta trust people,
Yeah.
right? You gotta have people like it. So
It
we
is so nice to have you in the studio with us.
That was-
That's definitely a bonus.
Oh, it's great to be here, and
Yes.
thank you so much for the invitation. And it's
and
always interesting, listening to what people's concerns are and
yeah,
getting the
Yes.
calls and
yeah.
hearing
But
things.
every time that we've asked you, you've shown up
Yeah.
and you give us peace.
Yes.
There's nothing better than
Yeah.
having that sense of peace, knowing that the person that you are listening to, that's sharing information with you, is wise, informed, prepared, and willing to keep us safe by sharing your knowledge with us. So thank you for giving me that sense of peace, even after all that sweating and checking my temperature every other hour.
I know how it is.
Oh my
You're really,
goodness.
you're really worried about it.
Yes.
You're
But,
worried
no,
about it.
I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
And, and
Thank you, Missy. I
you don't
appreciate
know
that.
this. He just got back from Peru, right? And he had a little speaking engagement down there, and then saw places that I've never seen, and so he
Yeah, I
got
got a
back
chance to
yesterday.
see. I was telling him I got a chance to see Machu Picchu, and that was pretty amazing. I was
Wow.
going down there for a meeting, and I said, "Let me go," but let me tell you, it's a little bit of a trek to get there. And talk about shortness of breath that you have. I was having shortness of breath at high altitude. It
Oh
was
yeah, I can
high up.
imagine.
It's high up there. It's we're at the sea level here, but some of the places are at 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
8,000 feet, 9, 10,000 feet. It's 12,000 feet. It's high. And if you're not used to it, which I was not, I had to kind of take my time. And, I know I was hypoxic, right? And because I would get short of breath you walk down the
Yes.
street, you get short of breath, or you climb some steps, you get short of breath. And it's amazing. The whole Inca Empire that was 14, 1500s,
Yeah,
it's 600 years old
yeah,
It's
was
wonderful.
500 years old, and it's pretty amazing what they're able to do at such a high elevation from the structures that they built. I mean, it's enormous what they were able to do. And remember, it was Incan Empire had 10 million people in it, so and they all spread from Colombia to Ecuador to Peru, and it was pretty. It's kind of overwhelming and humbling to see how at that point in time they were able to do all these things that they did, from the crop irrigation to the getting water to where it needs to be, to growing things to feed people. And it was pretty eye opening. You learn a lot from history when you see what
and
people are able
travel.
to do. And
Yes,
so it's always
yeah.
humbling. It's a humbling thing.
Yeah. Wow. But we're glad that you made it back safely.
I am
And
too.
and let's leave him with this. Uh, I don't know when you can squeeze it in, but of course, smooth jazz radio is in your future, and voiceovers also.
Yeah, I'll
but,
think about that.
but save the rest of us first. Doc, thanks so much,
I'll do that.
man.
Thank you so much for having
doing
me,
this one more
Dr.
time.
Mark,
All
and
right,
everyone.
all right,
Thank you guys
everybody.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see everybody next week. Right, next
Yeah.
show, Street Soldiers. Okay, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
soon.
we love
All
you,
right,
Dr. Campbell.
all right.
We
Thank
love
you.
you
We'll see you,
too.
Missy. Take care now.
Alrighty. Good
Respond.
night.
See you.